Welcome back to the Truth-Unspoken. Glad for you guys to join us tonight as we go on our continuing ride of exposing lies, deception, and deceit, of trying to take our children and change our way of life. For those that have a freedom, this is what America's supposed to be, right? Land of the free, home of the brave, land of the free. And that's being taken away from us. If people don't know that, if they're not aware, that's what we're here to make people aware. And we're not a political channel. We're not a channel that we're trying to do any agenda other than exposing truth, other than pointing out the things that are causing deterioration in our complete society, in our country, in our way of life, in our homes. And one of the big things, the major thing actually, is taking God out of the homes. And this is what has caused us to go into a downward spiral. And if you've been watching the episodes, I want to thank you, number one. And I want to thank all the supporters and all of those that are joining in arms to say that, no, we're putting a stop. We're coming up with counteractive plans that are to bring back the family. That's what we're about. We're about family.
Yes.
And God is about family. And understanding that if we have the Spirit of God, truly, not in theory, not according to emotion, but the actual Spirit of God, then we'll see that family is the key. And family is what is under attack. And so we're here to make people aware of the attack, number one, and open the eyes of those that cannot see, answer questions to those that have questions, right? Those that have issues. We all have issues. We all have problems. But see, one thing that I've been blessed to have is my parents and my church family and people that actually love me, and we love each other, and that's how I was raised. And so I was raised in a home where God was the center, is the center, and every family has issues. All children go through things. All parents go through things. People, human beings go through things. And that's why we have a manual, right? We have a manual that helps us, which is called the Holy Scriptures, the Holy Bible, and helps us to realize that God is concerned about our problems. There is no problem that is too big or too small that he doesn't care about. But he's given us instructions as human beings, as our functions, our purpose. He created our personalities. He created our minds. And so, but when we do not take the time to get to know him for ourselves and then teach our children about him, then we go off into a direction to where all kind of other things are able to come in: confusion, deception, feeling of depression. These are all dark entities that are not from God. And what happens is we try to go to therapists and people that have been trained in the opposition of the knowledge of God. And we want to come to them with answers that we're dealing with in our souls, that we're dealing with in our spirits, that we're dealing with in our minds. We want to come to people who are supposedly educated and have an understanding, and then we look at them as, the person to lead us and how we should go. And so we're seeing this more and more. It's been here. It's been going on, but we're just drawing light to it. And so before we get into the videos, because we got videos today that we want to show, and I don't want to talk as much, but during the videos, I'm actually going to have Justin pause them because there's going to be things that there's key languages that I want people to be aware of that highlights and shows other side of things that is not being talked about. Yes, we hear about the medical side and we hear about the mental side, but we don't hear about the biblical and the spiritual side.
That's right.
And so that's what we're here to do, is insert truth. See, the Bible is truth and light and life. And God wants us to have life and life more abundant.
Amen.
But if we don't know that, if we're unaware of that, then we make wrong decisions out of our emotions and out of our feelings. And then what's happening now is there's an agenda, a demonic, dark agenda to steal our children, kill our children, confuse our children, and separate our families, all at the basis of mammon, which is money. Now, the Bible is also very clear you can only serve one of two masters, God or mammon.
Yep.
So that means that everything that is not of God, which he created everything, but everything that is in opposition of him is influenced by money. Now, this is not to say that, see, people misquote this all the time. They say money is the root of all evil, and it's not. The love of money is the root of all evil, which we'll get into these scriptures after we play these videos. So the root of all evil is the love of money. And when people love money, then that means there's no limit to what they will do to get the money. And that includes mutilating children, deceiving parents,
Yep.
and leaving life and death ultimatums, which all end with a check. And so these curriculums that are being forced in our schools, and we're being punished if we don't take them and adopt them and indoctrinate our children, guess where they're punishing us? Money. And guess what? When they get these agendas pushed, guess what they get? Money. And so when we look behind the scenes and find out the spiritual dynamic for the love of the money, it's limitless. No one is exempt. When someone has a love for money and they're driven by it, it doesn't matter if it's their family, it doesn't matter if it's their friends, all morals go out of the window, all honesty, integrity, all those things leave. And so we have to wake up, and the main point of this channel is to bring exposure, but also a solution is we here, especially in Southern California, if you would like to join, we need help in building schools,
Yes.
private and charter schools. That is our goal, is to get, because there's thousands and thousands of waiting lists, children on waiting lists from families that they don't have to have any type of religious background, but they just know that what's being done is wrong. But we also need to make it affordable. So we want to provide, there's a need for schools, there's a need for good teachers that are not in agreement with confusing children, with cutting parents out, taking the authority and the responsibility. It's our responsibility to teach our children right. But they're taking that responsibility and they're taking that choice.
That's right.
From the parents. And so we're looking for partners, we're looking for people that love their family and love children and want to make a big change. And guess what? If we come up with more schools, if we provide more campuses where we deal with these issues, but we deal with them with a truthful insight. So when a child is going through something or wants to talk, we have a therapist, or we have somebody, doesn't have to be a therapist, it could be a counselor. We have people that are not saying, hey, one of your main issues is you're really a boy, but you think you're a girl, but you're really a boy. And inserting seeds of confusion. Why? Because there's a check behind that agenda, and taking advantage of people that are emotionally distressed, children that are confused, their bodies are going through changes, which is normal.
Yeah, puberty.
Every one of us that are made it to adulthood without being mutilated from these people, we know you grow. These are natural stages of life.
Yep. Right.
When we were in school, we weren't told if we were feeling something change in our body that's because you're actually the opposite sex.
Right.
No one told me that in school.
Well, me neither.
Right? So they were saying, hey, this is a part of growing.
Right.
That happens to everyone. Puberty happens to everyone.
Yep.
Emotional misunderstandings happen to everyone.
Right.
But see, the Bible helps guide us and lets us know that, hey, guess what? If we have our confidence in God, if we know who we're supposed to be according to who God's created us to be, then that eliminates those questions, who am I? That eliminates those questions, why am I here? That eliminates those questions, what's going on with me? Well, when you know that it's a natural progress, that God created us all equal and he created us in his image, then guess what? Then we have an understanding that, hey, this is normal. But if we go into people that have agendas for answers for our families, that's how these horrific, mutilating, killing, suicides, all the confusion, regret, despair, depression, that opens the door. Now you learn some of these languages are the same languages I'm using of people who've already experienced it. Now we went, I think it was in video 2, when we talked about all the numbers of the suicides, and we played the video of the 19-year-old girl, which she's also in this video, but it's more people like her, right? So we don't want to keep going on and on. I just wanted to try to lay a foundation. So we want to go ahead and jump into the videos because we got some stuff we need to cover tonight. All right?
Courage. Here, boy. Come here, Courage. There you are. See, this is Courage, and he's going to pull me through. Okay, Courage. All right. Pull me, Courage. Pull. Pull. You want to be...
I really am sad that I took my voice for granted. Like, I didn't just take it for granted. I hated it. Like, and now, like, I would do anything to have that voice again.
How's your trying to teach me?
What's so funny, Daisy? Come back out with me later, okay? Say hi, Mom.
Our goal here is to offer gender-affirming therapy.
There is a substantial body of research that shows these treatments
Treatment for
work.
gender dysphoria is proven to be life-saving medical care.
It really comes down to how uncomfortable with their body parts.
Deciding to permanently alter the
And
bodies
do
of
they
children.
want to change those body parts?
Or they're detransitioning. Nobody.
Enough children have already been victimized by this barbaric suicides.
Ridiculous.
My childhood was ruined. This needs to
We
stop.
have a serious
Transgender. It's made very, very cool through the media. Through TikTok, through Reddit, through Tumblr.
I had an alter ego, and he was like this boy that I like customized in my mind of like the ideal boy. Other girls looked so different than I did. They were, you know, expressing themselves very differently.
Hey guys, so for today,
I was depressed, hopeless, and I was feeling pretty dejected and scared and alone. I didn't like life. Like, I just wanted to stay in my room all day. As you spiral into depression, it really feels like you're in a hole that is so infinitely deep, and the depression just was really debilitating in that I didn't really care about
self-worth is not a real thing.
improving myself because I already felt like I was just like I shouldn't have been born. Just having really like dark thoughts. I always just felt very much like there was just something wrong with me. And I was trying to figure it out. And I used the internet to help me do that. That's where I felt like I could diagnose myself. My favorite websites were YouTube and Tumblr.
Now, I want to pay attention to the key words that's being said, right? Dark thoughts, feeling hopeless, felt like, why am I born? So if we don't understand where we come from, if we don't understand that who's created us, this opens doors. So I just want to point that out. Pay attention to the language, and we're going to insert key things as it's going. So one thing she's saying is that she went to the internet to do research about how she was feeling. Pay attention to that. Now go ahead, let's keep running it.
Diagnose myself. My favorite websites were YouTube and Tumblr. It's such a huge amount of content that I consumed at that time. I mean, I watched a lot of trans people. I watched a lot of, gender transformation videos and saw these people really just like go from female to male visually. Like they look like men. And I was like, whoa, I didn't even know that it was possible for a woman to pass as a man that well. It's really dark when you think about it because the people who are consuming this are children, like 13, 14, 15 years old. And it's so easy for them to literally be groomed. I just started looking into all of it. I was like, oh, so there's genderqueer, gender fluid, there's agender, there's like, you can be a demi-girl, which is when you're like 90%.
More keywords, right? Paying attention to what our children are looking at and what they have access to. Notice key words. Easy access. And I went and I looked and there's all these sites to groom you.
Yep.
You hear that language?
Mm-hmm.
Went to the internet to diagnose herself. Not the Bible, not the parents. Access, we don't know what the parents are doing, but obviously we're not paying attention. Giving our children access to vehicles of technology that have agendas tied to them. And to shape and groom children. We must be aware of what our children are looking at, what's going on with them. Take the time and find out. Talk.
Yep.
See, so the first is therapist. You need a therapist because that means that there's no communication between the child and the parent. So what that means is we don't have enough time or we don't have enough understanding to be able to communicate with our children, so we need to pay someone else for our child that we gave birth to express everything that they're going through to a stranger and not to the people that birthed them. Well, that, I'm sorry to say this, but I'm not, but that pretty much is 100% goes on the parents, which means, are we dealing with our children by the Spirit of God? Or we want someone else to deal with their issues because we've made it to where our children can't be open and tell us what's going on? Are we being the parents that are taking the time, taking the patience, and then also praying? Remember, this hasn't went away from taking prayer and God out of the schools. So instead of prayer and God, let's implement therapists and professional people that have agendas, because it all boils down to a check. The more patients I can get, the more checks I get. The more confused children I get, the more checks I get.
Yep.
The more diagnoses of medications I can give to children and adults, the more checks I get. So when they say mental health requires prayer.
Yep.
It requires trust. It requires an open heart and an open ear to insert truth and clarity. So confusion, deception, manipulation won't have a place. So when I had something I needed to ask or something that I didn't understand, I could go to my parents and talk to them about it, whatever it may be. Now, whether I like the answer or not, my parents gave me the truth.
Yep.
And they always based it on the word of God, no matter what incident that had to do with cousins, if it had to do with incidents at school, if it had to do with teachers, if it had to do with race, if it had to do with whatever it had to deal with. And it was all, we're not any special type of family. We had troubles, we had hardships, we had these things, but our anchor was God. And so what I'm pointing this out is to pay attention to this language and then insert where the missing pieces are and why that road is continued on. So we already see major issues, going to the internet for answers, diagnosing yourself. Why do you need a diagnostic? Feelings, the only diagnose for feelings is prayer and the word to help us understand that when we talk to God, questions are answered. Right? Come on, let's keep going.
Weird and fluid, agender. There's like, you can be a demi-girl, which is when you're like 90% girl, 10% not girl. Like, there's just an infinite amount of ways that you can interpret and express your own gender identity. And your gender identity is who you are, and nobody gets to take that away from you. So hearing that, I just became very, very interested in having a male persona. The more time I spent online, the more it felt like real life. And the more real it felt, which eventually led to...
The more time on the internet, the more real it became. The more time consumed with information, misleading and deception. So the more deception entertained, the more lies and deceit entertained to reel in money, the more that perspective, which is a lie, became real to her. All right, come on, let's go. Just want to point that out.
It felt, which eventually led to me just fully transitioning.
Did you know there was a college Christmas party tonight? NFI, me and you.
So I came out to my parents as Ollie, and, I went to this, I guess, behavioral mental health clinic for like 6 days. They had a meeting with my parents, and they basically told my parents that if you don't validate Oliver, if you don't validate him, then this is just going to get worse. The best thing that you can do to help him is to accept him as your son. But I already felt like I wasn't what my mom had expected. And for me, transitioning was the closest I could come to killing myself without actually doing it. With all of these men.
So, another key points is when she said that they went to the parents, took them to this mental health place, right? And left her there for 6 days. And guess what? Notice how the language hasn't changed from the last video or the video we did in the week 2 or 3 with the young woman, the 19-year-old, when her parents took them. So these ultimatums are given from the parents. They're given an ultimatum from the therapists, from the doctors, the ones that are supposedly helping or supposedly there to help, right? They keep getting the same ultimatum. You can either accept and change your child, mutilate them, or they're going to die. They're going to kill themselves. Who said, why are those the only two options? Why are there only two options being presented? Money. Let's roll it.
Closest I could come to killing myself without actually doing it. With all of these mental struggles that I was having, not knowing how to make sense of it on my own, and consuming so much of the trans narrative,
and just loving life.
Hearing people say this made me so much happier. This alleviated my pain. I wanted to alleviate my pain. I also didn't want to be who I was. So with transitioning, I could do both of those things. I could alleviate my pain and I can become someone else. I wanted to escape my own identity as Daisy.
My name is Ali Chadra, and this is my voice one day before testosterone.
That was really the beginning. I wasn't just playing around anymore. I wasn't just playing dress up anymore. Like, I was actually going to become a trans man and live my life that way.
Culturally, we are Mexican, and men have to be very masculine in our culture. And I wasn't the most masculine growing up, and I think that had a part on everything that eventually led me to do what I did. It was around middle school. I was surfing YouTube one day, and a video popped up, male to female, and that eventually planted the seeds of doubt. It allowed me to be caught by the ideology that eventually led me to hurt myself.
Again, key words. He said, planted seeds of doubt, which led him into research on how to change. YouTube, internet, seeds planted, then the seed grows. We're going to go into scripture about this. Go ahead.
Eventually, I just wanted an answer to be given to me on who I was, and I went to see a therapist, and I had only asked, I think I might be trans, I don't know, I want to know. The therapist immediately on my first appointment with her said, yes, I am a transgender woman. She had my letter to transition the same appointment. After that, I just took everything slowly. But eventually my father found out what I was doing. And due to our culture, he was not happy. And he took me to Mexico and had me have sexual relationship against my will with a prostitute. I was a 19-year-old kid, and my father told the prostitute, take good care of him, it's his first time. He was trying to prove that I was a man. That broke me, obviously.
Now, here we have, now what I want people to see is it starts with the parents. So what happens is you have a father, you have parents that obviously are lacking biblical understanding and spiritual insight from God. So when parents lack those two things, then what happens is wrong decisions are made. And when wrong decisions, when the child goes to the parents and they don't get the help that they need, they don't get the answers that they need, and then they're sent to someone else, there's a major problem and a major catastrophe. And so it is very key as parents that there's no perfect parent. Let's get that straight.
Yep.
There's no perfect parent. There's no flawless parent. There's no parents that have never messed up. That's not a reality. But there are parents that, with those two components, biblical understanding and spiritual insight from God, He gives us answers. Answers that people with natural education can't answer. And so we're not discrediting professionals. What we're doing is we're pointing out a root of an issue that starts at home, and because this hasn't been addressed, it's spiraled into our laws now, it's spiraled into our schools, and so home issues are not being dealt with at home properly, and then it opens the door to everything else that is there to steal, to take, to destroy, and it gives it fuel. So I just want to point that out about parents. Let's go, keep going.
After that, I go back to the therapist and told her I wanted to transition. And she recommended I start my social and medical intervention as soon as I can. 11 months after I had started hormones, I was transferred to another medical professional who, after speaking with him for one time only, he approved me for surgery. And a few weeks after that session, I got 2 letters from my insurance approving me for surgery. But I was a little surprised that I received my letter for bottom surgery, which was removal of my genitals without even asking.
My voice pre-T. My name is Ali Chadra, and this is my voice 1 month on T.
2 days ago was my official 3 months on testosterone. This is my voice 4 months on T. It's probably not really a good thing that I was able to get my hormones so easily. I mean, anyone can go in there. Not only did they send me home with the hormones, but I actually did my very first shot right there in the doctor's office. And I was just euphoric, and it was real, and I was actually going to start seeing changes, and I was going to start passing, which basically meant that everyone around me was going to see me as a boy, an actual boy. This feels good. This makes me happy. I'm actually feeling the feelings that, you know, all those like trans people online were saying that they felt.
I just want to say that I'm literally so happy with my test. It's so much better than I thought it would be.
Seemingly out of nowhere, we've suddenly seen a huge spike in media depictions and social media depictions of transgenderism. It's even reached the mainstream advertising world. And I think this is all coming to a head and what this really means for our society. In cases like the case of Layla Jane, a young girl whose breasts were removed at age 13 by doctors who fed her a lie.
Take this next case. Layla Jane was born a girl.
Layla Jane experienced a host of medical issues in her youth. Her mother, who is bipolar, expressed to these physicians and therapists that her daughter might be bipolar, but she actually never received any diagnosis or treatment for that. The family went to one physician who, after less than a 2-hour appointment, green-lighted the hormone therapy, and in a similarly or even shorter period of time, a plastic surgeon signed off after one visit on removing her breasts. Like most young women who go down this path of identifying transgenderism as the solution to their problems, reinforced by irresponsible medical care providers, it's likely that if physicians had properly diagnosed all of the issues present in Layla Jane as a child, she would never have gone down this path.
When parents of trans-identified kids are referred to specialized gender clinics, they're often told that they're going to get comprehensive, multidisciplinary mental health assessments. We know that that's not true. In practice, these kids were put on a fast track to medical transition.
Layla is now 18 and is fighting back, so this does not happen to anyone else.
My name is Prisha Mosley. I was a 15-year-old girl when the trans community found me. Already diagnosed with multiple mental illnesses, including anorexia, a body dysmorphic disorder, and borderline personality disorder, a trauma disorder, I was easy to manipulate and convince that I had been born in the wrong body. I was told that this was the reason for all of my mental and emotional distress.
The gender specialist I was taken to see told my parents that I needed to be put on puberty blocking drugs right away. They asked my parents a simple question: would you rather have a dead daughter or a living transgender son? This is the moment that we all became victims of so-called gender-affirming care.
But is this the document we're talking about? You needed this letter signed by a therapist to open up the door for you to get these medical treatment. Is this the document that we're talking about earlier?
Yes, it is.
And it took you how long to get this?
30 minutes.
The ideology that has become dominant at these clinics is that trans kids know who they are, and therefore to question them, to ask basic therapeutic questions like,
I am a primary care physician. I'm frustrated, and it is not what I signed up for. I'm tired of our sick.
could your gender dysphoria or gender identity have been triggered by some other event in your life? Basic questions of screening are completely taboo in these circles. But the truth is that parents don't have much of a choice in the matter. And doctors are telling parents in front of their distressed children, if you don't consent to the use of puberty blockers and cross-sex hormones, your child is going to die by suicide. I believe that most doctors who practice gender-affirming medicine,
Gender dysphoria.
they genuinely, sincerely believe that they're doing good, but they're not.
Finland, Sweden, France, Norway, and the UK are reversing course and asking questions.
Have all not found enough medical evidence, psychological evidence, to support transgender therapy.
In the UK, their only national gender clinic for children shut down last year by court order. What do their doctors know that our doctors don't?
Part of the problem is that the current cohort of teenagers that are being transitioned under the affirmative protocol, which lacks guardrails, which takes kids at their word when they say I'm trans, which doesn't do proper mental health assessments. In fact, double mastectomies on teenage girls went up 13-fold between 2013 and 2020. Between 2016 and 2019 alone, these procedures went up by 500%. A study published in 2022 by researchers who are advocates of gender-affirming surgeries showed that the youngest patient to have received a radical bilateral mastectomy in the United States is 12 years old. These kids are going to grow up and they're going to start to feel the full effects of their medical decisions. They're going to start to feel the side effects. If you really want to know whether amputating the breasts of a 12 or 13-year-old girl is ultimately in her best long-term interests, ask her when she's 30 or 40 and unable to breastfeed her own child.
I would go out into the world and everyone's calling me Ollie. everyone sees me as a guy. But then, at the end of the day, when I'm home, in my room, looking in the mirror, I'm like, what did I do? Like, I start getting these like really scary thoughts of like, you're incomplete. You're not a guy. You never will be. But even though you're legally, your driver's license says you're a guy, you're not. You finally have expressed your true inner self or whatever, the thing that you wanted to do so badly ever since you were like 13, 14 years old. You did this thing to alleviate this gender dysphoria, that wasn't there before, but you made it into a problem, and now your body image issues are worse. That's not supposed to happen. What do we do now?
I just woke up one day, looked at myself in the mirror, and asked myself, what the heck am I doing? Because I realized no matter if I would have gone every surgery, continue with hormones, I realized I would have never been a woman. At best, I would have been a caricature of what I believed a woman was.
Are you tired of smoking? Give Lucy nicotine gum.
Because they had more concerns of me reversing everything, I just socially detransitioned, got the implants removed. So I had technically developed gynecomastia. My chest is not like it used to be, and it never will. I have scarring, numbness, and unfortunately, my nipples are completely different, to put it lightly. It has been taking a major toll on me since I've realized what I've done.
I was almost 5 years on testosterone. So if I had gone further, I wouldn't have been able to go back. When I found out I was pregnant, I was just over the moon. I mean, I was scared I was gonna have a doctor tell me that, like, sorry, you're infertile, and it would have been my fault. There are so many young people who are going through very similar things that I did and are still being told that transition will save them, and it's just not true. My story is tragic in some ways, but it's very redemptive in many ways. That cannot be said for many detransitioners. And that's just heartbreaking. Like, I can't imagine living with that. Like, I can't imagine what it would be like to regret a bottom surgery or, you know, to be infertile because when you were a little child, like 12, your, you know, parents were manipulated into putting you, like, blocking your puberty.
Being so young, I was so impressionable. I was told so many times, it's possible that you're trans, it's possible that you're trans, that eventually I started to believe it.
Unfortunately, transition made things worse for me.
It has just kind of wrecked my perception of myself, and I feel like I missed out on like 3 years of my life. I missed out on 3 years of living my teenage girlhood.
I didn't realize that there were women like me who were different.
So, here's the deal. I'm detransitioning. It's true, it's not a joke.
I understand now that I can be a cis woman again. I haven't gone too far. I haven't passed the point of no return. I can live as a woman again.
I was something because people were reacting to me, but it was a me that wasn't really me, so I was protected. I was protecting myself with the trans label.
These pediatric clinics that perform these surgeries, they will do nothing to help these teens if they decide to detransition. There's nothing you can do. You know, once you've taken all those hormones, Billy, your body is changed beyond repair.
You don't have to remove your body parts to make you complete. When I transitioned, my suicidal ideation did not go away.
Transition is not the only answer, and there are many detransitioners like me out there.
My name is Camille Kiefel.
My name is Emily.
My name is Laura Becker.
My name is Abel Garcia, and I'm a detransitioner.
My name is Daisy, and I'm a woman.
Well, a lot of information given. You know, one of the key things that the Bible talks about is the word of our testimony. And see, how you combat lies and deceit and deception is with truth. And so that's why we are playing videos that show the truth about what happens to these people, these children, not people, children, that are misused and manipulated, and parents that are unaware, allowed to be manipulated. See, but now it's even went a step further, because at that time and those times, the parents took the children to find out, to speak to someone. Now, these same people are at our children's schools. And now they don't need your permission in California. They don't need the permission of the parents. So now the direct words that were being said to the parents is, if you don't do this, then your child's gonna die of suicide. If you don't help them change who they were created to be, then you're gonna have a dead child, right? Now they can tell that to the child without saying one word to the parent. So that's the next step of progression that is taken. So now the child no longer needs to be taken to the facility. They're bringing these people and putting them in the schools. So now if the child is offered to talk to someone, and it'll be used as manipulation at school. Do you feel funny? Do you feel this? Do you feel that? Oh, come and talk to counselor so-and-so. Come and talk to Mrs. or Mr. so-and-so. And then when they go and talk to these people, they're being manipulated and told something that is natural is unnatural, and what they really are is not what they really are. So now we can be at work and have no clue that these conversations are happening. It's bad that there was parents taking the children and being told this in front of the children. Now the parents have been removed completely. As long as the child is 12 years old, they can have these discussions, they can make these decisions. So common sense tells us, right? Children a 12-year-old cannot go buy alcohol. That's against the law. A 12-year-old cannot buy nicotine, cigarettes. That's against the law. But a 12-year-old can decide to cut their body up. And insurance will cover. You heard the one guy, Abel, he said that his insurance immediately approved of it. Meaning the cost of the surgery. Put that up. Let's put that up. The chart of the breakdown of the cost. What happens? What's given? Okay, the cost of gender-affirming surgery can vary depending on the type of surgery and the provider. According to a 2022 study published in the Journal of Law, Medicine and Ethics, the cost of gender-affirming surgery can range from $6,900 to $63,400. However, the actual cost can vary depending on whether you have insurance, whether your insurance company covers gender-affirming surgeries. For example, a female to male transition surgery such as masculinization, chest surgery, also known as top surgery. You heard them speak bottom surgery. That's the genitals and the underneath the waist being changed, chopped, cut, changed. And the chest is top. That's the bottom. Okay. Might cost $3,000 to $10,000, while chest surgery for a male to female transition could cost from $5,000 to $10,000. Bottom surgery, such as vaginoplasty or phalloplasty, can cost $25,000 and $24,900 respectively. So There's a reason why these are being, what do you call it? Easily, accessible, easily passed, easily affirmed, easily, they have a quick approval. That's the word I'm looking for. Approval.
Yeah, one session.
In one session. So so this is another thing, parents. We need to pay attention and look in our insurance clauses to find out if the insurance carrier we have, our child that's covered under that insurance, can go without our knowledge and our permission, and the insurance that we're paying for will pay for this child to make the decision without us even knowing, and our money is actually covering and paying for our child to be mutilated.
Wow.
So there's a lot of responsibility that we got to start opening in our eyes and looking into and seeing. So I want to jump into some scripture with all of that being said, right? Probably going to end with this. So 1 Timothy chapter 6, right? We're going to start in verse 7. It says, For we brought nothing into the world, and obviously we cannot take anything out of the world. But if we have food and clothing, with these we shall be content, satisfied. So meaning the simple things of being grateful, right? This is the season of Thanksgiving, correct? Well, Thanksgiving is giving God thanks for having the things that we need. Food, shelter, transportation, finances, a gratefulness and a thankfulness, and understanding that when we were born, who was born, and a Rolls Royce came hand in hand as they was giving birth, and they was coming from the mother. They was coming from the mother in a Rolls Royce, or any vehicle, or any bank account. None of that exists. So we came in with nothing. When you die, when you're buried, you can put things in the casket, but there's nothing going with you. Right? That's what the scripture is saying. It says, but verse 9, but those who crave to be rich fall into temptation and a snare. See, if you're paying attention to these videos, that is what's being pointed out clearly. Those who crave to be rich. Now that covers a lot of areas. There's people that will do anything to get money. There's people that will do anything to become famous. Celebrities, all this. This is, guess what it's called? Craving. Right? Crave to be rich. They fall into temptation and a snare, and into many foolish, useless, godless, and hurtful desires that plunge men into ruin and destruction and miserable perishing. So the cravers of the money, those that crave to be rich, those that crave to get that extra check, their actions, which are foolish and useless. How useful is it to remove someone's natural body parts? Well, how is there any use in that? There's none. And godless. So every person that agrees with this, number one, you got to ask, hey, are they a craver to be rich? Then also, they're also saying, we don't agree with the order of God. Remember the very first video, we haven't went away from the order of God and the family of God. Every episode is tied into those two things. And so it says, and hurtful desires that plunge men into ruin and destruction and miserable perishing. So the craving of this money, the actions will cause others to go into hurtful desires, desiring to be something that they're not. I'm a girl, I'm a boy, but I desire to be a girl. And then this craver of money is saying, yes, you should be desiring that. Even though it's a hurtful desire, I'm here as a professional to tell you that that desire is good. And that if you don't follow that desire, you're going to die. And you parents that won't approve of this, you're going to be responsible for your child dying. Do you want your child to be a happy transgender, someone, a mutilator of their body, a mutilator of their soul, a mutilator of their mind? Or do you want to have a dead daughter or a dead son? That's the cravers. That's their mentality. That's their motive. That's their care. Right? It plunges into ruin, destruction, and miserable perishing. Everyone that you heard on that video, they're in miserable perishing. The one, Daisy, the grace of God, she was able to still have her family and do her natural function and have her real desires of her heart. Because she came to a point that said, I'm not going to continue on this destructive path that this craver has put me on, and I realize that they're liars. And so I'm going to reverse and go back to what God created me to be. Right? Okay. Verse 10, for the love of money is a root. Right? There's many roots, but for the love of money is a root of all evils. It is through this craving that some have been led astray. So when you can be right, meaning in your heart, you can be a right person, a righteous person. You can be someone of good that wants to do good. And one thing I don't agree with what the doctor said, that he said most of these therapists, they think they're doing good. I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that. Because any therapist that can convince a child to mutilate and chop their bodies up, that therapist is getting a kickback. For every therapist that diagnoses that child and then shifts them to the doctor, they're getting a check. Now, does that mean all therapists are bad, evil people? That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is I don't agree with that. They don't know what they're doing. I don't agree with that. And he said from the beginning when he started, he said that what they're presenting, I'm not done reading yet, what they're presenting is a lie. He said us as professionals know about the mental assessment that they're supposed to be getting. He said we know that it's not true and we know that it's a lie. Okay. It says, have been led through this craving that some have been led astray and have wandered from the faith and pierced themselves. You see, so it goes inside. When you have the love of money, it pierces you and it goes inside, and a craving and a driving and a darkness pushes to where you have to get it no matter who get hurt, no matter who gets destroyed, no matter. And notice another key thing that they said. There is no, if this is real and this was about helping people find their identity and all this truth, then why did they say that there is no clinics, there is no doctors, none, that are supporting or helping those that say, you know what, I don't want to do this. I actually want to change and I want to go back. They have no help. They actually stop contacting them. They stop responding as soon as they see you cutting my money off. So if this was real genuine for those that want to argue and those that want to, that's why we're bringing testimonies of people that have already done it. And we already read the stats of 81% globally. Another key thing that was said, you notice how they said the one in France, they had one in France, and they said the courts shut it down. And the man said, what do the doctors in Europe know that our doctors don't? Well, guess what? Their doctors know, oh, if we got to mutilate children to get paid, we don't need to go that far. That's what their doctors know. Their doctors know if we do this, we're gonna eliminate our population. They know that if we push this, we're going to create more damage and more harm to our own children. So when the man said, what do their doctors know different than our doctors? Those are the answers. Our doctors have compromised and said, hey, we don't care, whatever this craving is what we obey. Right? He says, and pierce themselves through with many acute mental pangs. Notice that. So the craving for the money creates this sounds like mental challenges. Pangs is a sharp emotional pang. Wow. That's what the definition is of P-A-N-G. Not pain, but pangs. Right? And so it's addressing every area. So for those that only see the people, there's things behind the people. Right? Yeah. And so I think that we have to really focus and really join together in unity, and we need to create these schools. Yeah. We need to, like I said, we need to come up with days or weeks that where we're saying to this public school system, now listen, so we can get it all clear. These same videos that we watched, the same situation that we're seeing, these are the same exact mandates that Governor Newsom and other governors of other states, but Governor Newsom in California, he's demanding our schools teach this. The transgender, the gay, against the order of God, the agenda of we need that money and my children are not going to be submitted to this, but your children are, which we already came and we gave you the facts. He sends his children to a different state so that they're not, and I believe it's Montana. Now, the other thing is when you try to see, we knew this information in 2020, 2021. We knew that information. But now, guess what? The ones that create the laws, now when you try to go look up that information, a lot of information is being erased. This is not a conspiracy theory. This is me telling you, I saw the actual verbiage in 2021, and when you go try to look it up now, it's not there. I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I'm someone that has spiritual insight and biblical understanding. And so my job is to paint the picture, show the truth, expose the truth, expose the lies, expose the deception, expose the agenda from the darkness, and trying to take our children, trying to kill the next generation by literally mutilating them. And we need to come up with answers, and we have them. Help us create these schools. Please, those that have connections, those that have ties, those that have funding, and those that want their children out of these school districts and don't want your children forced to have to. What happens when your child comes home and they've made that decision and you're unaware of it?
You can't stop it.
Yeah, you can't stop it. And if you're unaware of it, you have no idea it's happening. Yep. So what happens when when one of your children come home and there's some counselor told them or some therapist told them at school and they've already went forward with it? Mm-hmm. This is real. This is in our backyards. This is in our homes. And so please join with us. Please help us. We have the preferred, we're a 501c3 as well. And so a nonprofit. So those that have the connections, those that have the channels, please join with us. Please help us to save children. Please help us to save our children. Please help us to answer back the wickedness, the evil, because we are righteous and we're standing on the side of righteousness. And righteousness, when people stand and join in unity, righteousness overcomes evil. That's the only thing that overcomes evil. Nothing else.
Yep.
Truth and righteousness and unity, we can combat and we can change. Just like Europe just showed us.
Yep.
Europe just showed us. They said, we're not having that here. And we had one and we're closing it down. Their legal system did that. While our legal system is pushing this.
Yeah.
So there is some things that are not worth money. And there's an old saying, all money is not good money.
Yep.
So if you can put up the performed forms of payment so that people can give and they can donate, please send the links out. Please subscribe. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for supporting. Thank you for believing. And we're trying to get as many people aware and as many parents as aware and many people that love family and love truth and hate deception and hate evil and hate crookedness.
Yep.
Those are the people we're reaching out, and those are the people that we want to join with. So I'm your host, Gabriel. It's good to be with you guys, and pray that everyone has a great Thanksgiving. I don't think we'll be doing a podcast on Thanksgiving. That's family time.
Right.
And we want to honor that, and please be grateful. Please, another thing is we need to let things go in our families. We have too much controversy, too much strife, too many outside things that allow us to separate our families, unforgiveness, people that, we all get mad, we all get angry, but there's nothing more powerful than saying, I'm sorry, please forgive me. I'm sorry, can we make this right? Those are powerful words. And I encourage everyone to use that. Use those words, long lost family or long separations or whatever the case may be. Let all of that stuff die, because this is the time to be Thanksgiving. Thank God if you have parents. Thank God you have brothers and sisters. Thank God you have people that love you. Thank you. Be thankful for that. All right? So we're going to sign off, and we'll see you not next week, but the week after. Right? Thank you for joining, and happy Thanksgiving to everyone. God bless. We'll see you soon.